plus Psylocke, we might see that again.
Yeah, I like they brought up Gnome because it was his Eye of Agamotto to end the game up against, I believe it was Assemble Fire yesterday. So we're going to see clutch, I'd say plays coming out of that, but Finale is someone you got to keep your eyes on. But everyone honestly has their own right to be MVPs on Reject's side. However, O2 Blast, I'm going to put everyone on blast, that anyone that's doubted them. And I mean, we also, as commentators, right, we're like Dopamine, they're really good, but they made a lot of fans in the chat with how well they were able to play up against Gen G. So they want to be able to duplicate that same type of success. It's pretty much standard fare when it comes to the picks and bans and locks, because Loki, Mag getting banned out while we get a pickup on the Mag side. On the other side, though, on Rejects, they do save the Emma Frost.
Yo, Posh, it's still early in the night, right? The first map, I feel like everyone goes to their default picks and bans. Nothing too spectacular here. O2 Blast, what are you thinking about the second lock-in? Strange, really wanted to make an effort there. I feel like O2 Blast, is that right? Maybe when they were called Dopamine, may have had the Strange taken away from them, and they struggled a little bit. So I think that maybe comes from a world of hurt.
Possibly. We didn't note that Onse has this, well, I'd say a bit of a tell or calling card of a play that he portals directly onto the point just for them to establish the high ground and kind of flex their dominance, right? So coming into this one, I think, yeah, they might want to save that Doctor Strange, but that kind of allows other bans to come in favor. At least they have double shields. However, they do have a roaming Vanguard in the Captain America here. So kind of interesting here that they prioritize Vanguards over strategists and duelists in this Hell's Haven domination map.
Yeah, I think about that Captain America pick. It brings me back to, once again, that Gnome Gargoyle pick. I'm not going to be confuzzled or debated by whatever's on screen right now. I'm just looking at the picks and bans, chat, so bear with me. I like Onse's securing of the Doctor Strange. I think that's smart. You know, we've seen Onse really take to the front lines, being a playmaker of their own, trying to make some space for the team of O2 Blast, followed by Welsh Corgi, right, who had their small but effective moments on that Emma Frost. So wouldn't be surprised if we get kind of the standard 2-2-2 from the side of O2 Blast. Double shields, poke meta, one in the sky, probably re-E on the Human Torch per se. Rocco also has done wonders on this particular map, right, with the edges to find value as a Wolverine. So wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit of that action too.
Yeah, and Rocco on OTB might rock that Wolverine. He does like those dive duelists. We're already gonna, well, Rocco seems like he will be going Punisher, so it seems like he will go for far range damage. Has used the turret though, so I think Onse is gonna just portal right on in just to get the dominant side, but Rejects are already taking point here. They do have a Groot on Gnome's side, getting a push right away, but an easy pickoff on Gnome to start things out.
That's the thing about great portal, right? Immediate trade from that perspective. So one Vanguard per, but Gorgo will meet their demise, unfortunately, by the side of Rocco on the hella. An inch away goes Finale, manages to stay away with their life, but that's going to be a bit of a steal coming in. That's the bird from Rocco, regrouping with the rest of the team, conceding the site, not really given over to one yet. But Finale will find Welsh Corgi. So much value, so many Vanguards starting off the cuff.
Oh my god, Finale trying to get the Vanguards, displaced here, but they continue on. Rejects actually, you know, the Vanguard pick off left and right still worked in their favor for them to get the first point, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And Finale making sure that he stays alive long enough and tries to find a point or an angle to try and get these Vanguards in, but Piggy still holding strong with Emma Frost here.
Interesting change onto the Venom. Really wanted to take that backside, and it's going to start off with Ri, the Supernova, to disrupt everything in the kitchen sink right now, and Onse will be dealt with swiftly but securely. Oh, not much value from that, unfortunately. The Supernova can be just worked around, just basic positioning for the side of Reject to hold themselves this secure point.
They still, the saving grace here for O2 Blast is there's still a lot of time left, but you still don't want that to climb past the 50% mark. And coming into this, they do have some of check marks onto their side. Goddess of Death is going to get pushed out, but Doctor Strange is going to block the defensive parts to be able to push. Wow, speaking of push, Onse getting pushed out of it, so not going for the Venom anymore. So we're still kind of seeing a switch up here, but Welsh Corgi getting so much out of that, and Rocco as well, eliminating 2. Now make that 3 on Reject's side for a retake of the objective here.
Piggy in a Hail Mary used the Sonic Seduction to no avail, right? Honestly, it was a bit of a Hail Mary finale, just wanting to do a hard reset by diving onto the opponent, so that wish is immediately granted. And Reject now on the push. I really think back about that Sonic Seduction. I felt that there was a bit of an error in the heat of the moment. You're not going to have that to push out and blast. They are aware and they really want to be able to take the fight early to maybe have some of these cooldowns, and that's going to be Rii being taken 1, but immediately trade for that perspective. Gnome will find their counter. Oh, that's a huge start for the side of Rejects. The freeze just to be to hold things back, but O2 Blast, they are being pressured.
Okay, Mocha trying to get back in this matchup. What the heck from downtown? Able to take out Rocco, the aim god himself, Mocha on the strategist side, folks. Someone clip that, folks. And now we see that there is going to be a portal play. Eye of Agamotto, but Gargoyle being taken. Gargoyle actually adding so much on the table in terms of elims, and now they retake the point. Just one more would do it, and Rejects back on the climb here, gonna hit 80% on the point.
You have to feel good about that. A great resurgence in terms of presence. Now Gargoyle wanting to make do with the high ground. That's the smart move to maybe contest Rii, who already has their Supernova on site. So, you know, has to find a bit more value than the last time they used their ultimate. Hopefully, around the right side. It's going to be starting off with some great trades of health, but not bodies just yet.
Yeah, and slowly but surely, Piggy is going to gain back that ultimate. Overtime is going to get pushed by O2 Blast. They really need to win this next team fight. They have Supernova as well as the... Oh my god! Able to actually get the pick off on Welsh Corgi, so not looking too good in terms of Vanguards. Onse is the only one that can actually contest point, while Felix is keeping everyone alive that is holding the point. Eye of Agamotto is going to get popped, some stuns, and takes out Onse. Rejects take the point with authority, and now just forcing out the last elims for them to get map number 1.
Well, there's a reason why they're undefeated thus far. Their other counterpart, Genji, has already fallen, so it's up to them to hold that flawless streak alive and well. And it starts off with the Eldritch Monument, right? This is just point number 1. It can go either way. And O2 Blast are looking to fire back with a couple of ultimates of their own. Some adjustments coming through. Onse back on the Doctor Strange. Didn't really quite feel that the Venom was the best pick. Despite, I know the vibes were there for a great Venom within this hellscape, but Strange able to maybe make a bit more plays here.
Yeah, I think just go with your gut. I mean, Doctor Strange is still very much a good in terms of taking space, making sure that they get the portals on point, the Eye of Agamotto, especially in domination and team fights. It just adds so much to the table for people to worry about. So now, Mocha, Jesus Christ, this guy can click heads, and all the way from across the map is insane. And Rocco going with the Black Panther, acknowledge the king, folks. King T'Challa is in the map here, and Rocco, let's see if this is going to add anything to the table on the side of O2 Blast. And O2 Blast not going with their usual teleport strategy, and Onse going for the Hulk to add more dive potential. So Rocco already setting up a flank here.
Yeah, I think that might be the case as the resets come through. Can't find much value just yet as the attention is focused on his backline. Gargoyles on the hunt for one of their own, and will find the Panther nonetheless. Hunting season is in order as now Gargoyle sets their sights on the point itself. It looks like the invisible boundary will be popped by the side of Solomon. O2 Blast wanting to hold on to this side just a little bit more, and now Welsh Corgi just to keep the momentum. Meteor M will find Gnome marks a brilliant wall coming up from Gnome.
I would say that was actually a really good offensive strategy for Rejects, and now we're going to see the Kraken impact just to do a lot of cleanup. forcing out the ultimates on O2 Blast just so that they have the stagger on them gaining back the ultimates, while Rejects could just dominate here on out just for the early seconds. We do see that Raccoonn does have the descent of Bass to work with, but he's got to set up flanks, and right now they know that there's a Black Panther roaming around, so they got eyes at the back of their head, while Once is going to try to set up a flank on the Hulk side.
Yeah, this high ground is going to be really important to suss where these players might be, and onwards we go. It's actually the Wolverine finale finding value and finding at least eyes on it as the Hulk wants to smash things up. They're diving in. This forces Dobby onto the Eternal Ball and taking all the space away from the strategist, leaving, O2 Blast a little bit scattered. So much value coming out from Dobby and Finale finding that onset. Once again, once you strip away those backline supports, there's not much value coming in.
Okay.
Rocco's doing their best to recover some essence. It forces the fate of both worlds. Bass Descent can't find anything with so much healing potential from that Fate of Both Worlds.
He was able to eliminate the Cloak and Dagger, but I mean, that was just a lot of utilization on the ultimates, and ultimately Rejects still holding strong on their point, just forcing the Fate of Both Worlds on O2 Blast's side away from point and just forcing it to defensively respond. So just an incredible hold of point by Rejects. Well, now they're going to try to portal in here. We do have Ray Yi with the Supernova, and now they're going to actually get a pick off. But Gnome just responds in return, taking out Rocco, who switched on over to the Iron Man.
Yeah, Supernova now online trying to disrupt the movements of the Reject, force them off. This forces Soulman as well to invest in an invisible boundary. The wall come out to deny the beautiful denial of the Meteor M, to say the least. Right, that had to be expanded to maybe get some value. Ree will find Piggy. Unfortunately, is out of action at the moment. They're doing their best to hold that backline, but Gargoyle coming in strong. Kraken Impact now online. And again we go, finding all these mugs, to say the least, and has to just manually take out Phoenix. But Rocco with a pulse rifle, to say the least, trying to be the last saving grace for the set. O2 Blast, duck, dive, weave, but Finale with a huge drop with the Wolverine to find their mark. And domination goes the way of Reject.
That was an insane finale on the side of Rejects. They were going back and forth. They were dominating, but man, when you think O2 Blast kind of got their footing in this matchup, yeah, Rejects take it to another level. Congratulations to Mocha getting the MVP. Honestly, I wouldn't ask for a better strategist to get this MVP. And there you have it. Rejects really not pulling back any punches here, stepping on the gas and not looking behind. 100% on the point there, and it begs the question how O2 Blast can kind of come back from this. This was kind of the same story with Crazy Raccoons versus Gen G, but it was a close matchup. So now it just seems like, how will O2 Blast draft their compositions to go up against Rejects? Because right now, Gargoyle, my goodness.
Them really digging deep in the later hours of the Asian night here as picks and bans continue to work their magic. I'm not really seeing many adjustments. I'm also trying to think, are there any necessary targeted picks just yet? Not really sure. Apart from some like proactive ones that O2 Blast can bring, but nothing off the cuff.
I'd say take out the Luna from Mocha, because Mocha is crazy good on that Luna Snow. But you did say that this is kind of going into the after hours type of game. So if you guys got to head on to sleep, it's all good. The VODs are there on YouTube. Do follow Marvel Rivals on the socials, as well as me and Multitudes on the socials. Much is appreciated, so we can keep in contact and kind of gush about the amazing gameplays. And like you pointed out, it seems like we are going to get some targeted bans. Oh, look at that. You pointed this out, Multitudes. The Doctor Strange respect ban forcing Onse out of it, and Wolverine as well.
That's a big one. That's honestly a big pick for the side of Onse, and as well as Wolverine. Rocco has been working this, and Reject understand the pitfalls of the literal pits within this map. Really understanding their opponent and locking those out and securing a Punisher for themselves.
Yeah, Punisher is going to be really good. There's a lot of high grounds that you can kind of set up with, and this also kind of counters any fly attempts that will happen on O2 Blast side. But in the previous match, they didn't really go for any of those, but it seems like right now they're kind of hovering over that storm. I do like the idea Welsh Corgi's kind of inserting here. I know we're not supposed to jump into any conclusions, but which I'm glad I didn't, because Spider-Man is kind of godlike. Shout out to Sungjuk Woo that did show us that Spider-Man has amazing pulls in this game. So Slushy can keep that energy. We got to stay locked in here to see the finale of this matchup. Not to shout out finale of RC, but that could be a difference maker in this map.
It really could. It really could. And Slushy with the bagel. Yo, what I'd do for a bagel right now. What I would do, Posh, for a bagel with everything on top of it. As we move into Oraco. And everything bagel? Yes, that's right. That's right. So real. So real.
Shoutouts to Slushykin and also shoutouts to Yoshi. Shoutouts to you guys that are in the side of the world that is 7 a.m. My goodness. Thank you so much for being here and joining us and gracing us with your presence. Right now where we're at is bleeding towards the 11 p.m. mark, but we're still staying strong here as Felix stays strong onto this Ultron here, just trying to pump in as much damage as possible and hold the line for O2 Blast here in this matchup.
Yeah, Welsh Corgi on the Thing, which is an interesting pick given the composition at the moment. Ooh. And is immediately being taken out by Gargoyle. Not the best start for the Thing right now, so it's gonna have to concede all this space, all this map territory, as Mocha has been a sharpshooter through and through. Gnome's gonna find one as well, but this is gonna force O2 Blast to make their way back into the recesses of their spawn.
Yeah, you gotta get rid of Mocha on this Luna. It is a menace, and now right hands are gonna come flying here from Welsh Corgi's side, just trying to claim some space here in this first turn. Note that there are some second levels to this, so Finale can go for like, oh yeah, just go for that turret, but Welsh Corgi is going to be right on the case here and try and push past this point. Going for the dash in here and tries to get some CCs, forcing out the Eternal Bond onto the Cloak and Dagger. Everyone's still staying alive here. Onse trying to stay alive as he's levitating down here just for Gargoyle to use the Dance of the Butterflies, but to no avail. Defensive ult keeping everyone alive. Felix using the Rage of Ultron to keep everyone alive, and now the Final Judgment's gonna come in for Reject.
Oh, Final Judgment indeed. Supernova as well as the Meteor M. But look, they're off the point at the moment. Sides have flipped and Reject are finding value not until the fate of both worlds has been popped by the side of Mocha to be able to just sustain the rest of Reject. Clobbering time, knuckle sandwiches to boot. Ray's gonna find one in the midst of all this chaos, in the midst of all this stun, holding the fort in those 1.4 meters, and they were able to finally push back Reject in a last-ditch effort.
Yo, knuckle sandwiches? We were asking for bagels, folks, but Welsh Corgi serving it up for everyone here and gets that push going for Ray Yi to pick up the pieces, and now they hold. Rejects now have to walk all the way down for them to touch this point. Gnome does have the Doctor Strange to cut corners, but they still have some time to work with. So right now they're kind of funneling in here at the high grounds to see if they can try to push the point here. But O2 Blast doing a great job fortifying themselves and forcing out the defensive ult Meteor, and gonna just get a value taking out Rocco from downtown.
Oh, downtown indeed. This is forcing a fragmentation of O2 Blast at the moment. Forcing Somin to actually use that invisible boundary. Gargoyle's going to get out of there, waiting for the cooldown to finish as they come in to maybe claim. Yep, some lives here. Dance with the Butterflies. We'll find Welsh Corgi, the Thing of all things. Unfortunately, it's going to go down. The trade onto Rocco will come up, but Gargoyle's still finding so much value, pushing into this deep line. Onse will be dealt with, as well as that first checkpoint.
Yeah, first checkpoint unlocked after he was able to get the Dance of the Butterflies. You got to give it up to Solmin, able to actually get out of line of sight, but that actually leaves Welsh Corgi to get the brunt of that Dance of the Butterflies. So now just seems like a bit of displacement on the side of Gargoyle is really paying dividends. And now this is the first type of choke point, this tunnel area that has to go up above. So defender side do have a bit of the advantage here while Gargoyle tries to set up a spot to flank from.
I feel like this second phase is the epitome of high ground advantage. You have to work that high ground. You have to try and get those flanks they're falling onto just to provide a little support, especially with the Eternal Bond, I believe, being used to take some space. I have Agamotto, Meteor M, all of the above to make some noise, but sustain is so strong from both teams to keep the momentum going.
Yeah, so now it just seems like we're going to see a little bit of, well, catch up on the stream, my goodness. But we do have a lot of ultimates ready on the side of O2 Blast for them to be able to contest here and try to stop. They still do have the high ground, and now Rei making it rain down fire and also just keep everyone at bay. They have the high ground, Anakin. Do not contest this high ground.
Oh, indeed. I mean, so much value coming from Rei with the fires, with the high ground advantage to be able to hold back a fort. There's a few sneaky beaky ways around it to circumvent. And I wonder if, Reject are going to be able to take those fights for themselves.
Yeah, we're going to see now Gnome trying to set up a flank here as they try to push past this point. There's still a Wells way of trying to get to touch that point, and O2 Blast have them in their guards, but now Rei getting Gargoyle as he overextends, so continuing to add more damage here as the objective moves forward, and Rocco getting a piece of his own, and now almost the team wipe on the side of O2 Blast, so they're gaining their confidence back here as the time does wind down.
Now coming out with a teleport, right? Reject wanting to make some sort of presence. The backstab, the high ground. They have the higher ground, perhaps. They're fighting from a platform, to say the least. Once again, it's a back and forth. The sides are switched from this, and they're forcing O2 Blast to have to reconsider where to move, leaving them in a bit of a scramble. Great sleep onto it, and the dash out from Dobby will leave them just enough to be able to sustain the rest of their folks here. As we go again, I believe that is, the Dance of the Butterflies coming out from Gargoyle. Couldn't find their mark, and unfortunately will be the dunk coming out from Onsen, finding Gargoyle in the midst of this chaos. The Eye of Agamotto is denied.
Oh my god, what a denial of the Eye of Agamotto, and now Finale with the final judgment. No, actually gets taken out. Rei raining fire and wind all over the battlefield here, and O2 Blast, you get the high ground, but you underestimate my power, says O2 Blast. Holding point here. My goodness, the back and forth here. O2 Blast really coming alive here on the defensive side.
You're really good with those quotes, by the way. I gotta hand it to you. That's very impressive. As now we come back to the action, Gnome on the Captain America, trying to make some space in the back line, knowing they have to disrupt and destroy. It starts with the overtime clock. Gargoyle will find one. Rei with a trade of their own. So it's a 1-for-1 so far. As right now that backline is being hard contested. Rocco's doing the best to stay alive. Walsh Corey's got hands for anyone who wants to meet it. But finally Reject finding a bit of momentum with Gnome as well as Piggy picking up one of their own. A second for the side of Gnome. The Vanguards are really crushing it against O2 Blast.
The fact that they were able to get Captain America on a bubble and Magneto just to push and contest. Now it's Welsh Corgi. Oh, but no, he wants the backlines, and Gnome continuing on here, just having so much sustain. Has the freedom charge actually to stay alive and keep everyone alive, and now they're able to actually push past the second point. There will be a tunneled area here, folks. Again, no flash photographies as we head towards the Araco area, but it just seems like Rejects is giving the tour of this entire map and really putting it down the wire. Amazing push on Rejects' side, but really going down to just the final seconds.
Yeah, we really need to take advantage of this top side, or else, it's just so much open space that Reject have to walk through. So all eyes on Gargoyle and Norm to make a play, and they have to do it soon because we have 55 seconds to boot.
And now we continue on here. Onse just making sure they're going to be winning this far-off poke exchange. Rei just putting so much damage on the floor, but we're going to get a freedom charge just to push past this point here as we go towards that midway point. Solomon already using up the invisible barrier. This leaves a lot of checks to be cashed in for Reject's side. Maybe starting with a offensive ult here by Gargoyle, but he's still going to wait. He's actually going to get a pick off on a Felix side, and now actually gets picked off of his own.
That's not good, but in the midst of all this chaos, Fanai's leading the charge in this bottom, but the floor is wide open, and the floor indeed is lava as Rei is just throwing everything. And the fire and the kitchen sink, all these tornadoes coming out, able to get away with their lives. Onset with a Meteor M to find Mocha, the hard dealing Luna Snow at the very least. These hands do not miss. But watch Corgi bringing the fight coming back to their spawn just to be able to hold the cart in order, as I believe Gargoyle finds the the dance of the butterflies, but can't find any clicks with it. Somin will find Piggy. Gnome dropped as well. Vanguards, important ones, are losing. Oh, and they aren't able to force further overtime from that perspective. 2 is all they get.
Yo, one thing they did find were these hands by the thing, able to clobber his way to just get that victory, and Reihi making sure that he's going to make it so hard for them to contest that tunneled area through the fire and flames they had to go through for them to be able to hold the point. It's still a 2-point game on Reject's side. They made it quite far, but O2 Blast kind of coming alive and coming online here in this matchup. So maybe it's this mix of just flyers as well as grounded vanguards to be able to kind of make this point push past the mark that Rejects did set.
I like the adaptations from Reject as well, right? Switching off Gnome to the Captain America, being a disruptive force together with the Psylocke in the back line. And I think that was what was really needed to get themselves out of that second phase hiatus, perhaps, that they really struggled around that high ground. So, you know, it is this quick adaptations from both teams that are really important to continue their battle around here.
Yeah, I definitely have to give it up to O2 Blast. It was kind of weird that they did ban out the Strange, so it is going to be a little harder for them to capture point if they're staggered and they are far away from the objective. So right now they have to be able to be a moving fortress. They have to be a moving iron wall here for them to push past the defenses of Rejects. While Rejects, Gargoyle, I have to say, is very terrifying on this Winter Soldier. So far off damage coming in from Felix, trying to pepper in the back, trying to pepper some damage from the back lines and trying to contest the top, while Welsh Corgi is going to try to throw hands at the second floor area.
Reject already repositioning themselves onto the lower ground. That's a bit of a dicey move, as onsets are really taking a lot of verticality. We actually see Finale on the far side in the turret as well, laying waste in terms of bullets. No one's contesting them at the moment, still in turret form to say the least. And that's going to be Welsh Corgi. Unfortunately, couldn't find any value. So much free reign. You'd think that lower ground is hard to manage, but right now Finale is having so much opportunity to lay waste on their opponents.
So now, and a bit of adaptation on O2 Blast side, they are going to go with the Groot to change things up. Still sticking with the Mag. I think that maybe the thing might not give too much value, so let's see how this one's going to rock. There's still a lot of time left for O2 Blast to work with, and maybe the walls will be able to kind of cut off a bit of healing and also some damage. We do see the Rage of Ultron just to push back onto Reject's side for them to kind of get a little more ground onto the objective. But right now, Age of Ultron, what great movie. Rage of Ultron is going to be expiring, and now we do see that the invisible barrier is going to get popped by Dobby.
Indeed, just to be able to sustain everything. And the kitchen sink, Phoenix will go down, punished for their re-aggressions, and they're basically overstepping their boundaries. Rocco as well, but Piggy has something else to say about double Magnetos, double Meteor M's, both just losing and going wide. Unfortunately, it's going to be Ree with the Supernova to boot, trying to get more space for their team. As they round this corner, a bit of a stalemate goes the cart, as both Vanguards still alive from the side of Rejects, plus a lot of ultimates to boot.
Yeah, big opportunity for Welsh Corgi for that Strangling Prison, but unfortunately no Supernova. Maybe they can go for a Felix ultimate, but Piggy actually taking out Welsh Corgi, Gnome taking out Rocco. So great contest on the area by Reject's side. We're going to see a bit of a stagger onto O2B, and we still have less than 2 minutes left on the clock for Rejects to hold this point.
Rejects are really playing as a team. I really feel like they are synchronized, one single hive mind to boot, and now immediately look like Gnome understanding the plan, hops up to the high ground together with Piggy, just looking about where the fluidity from O2 Blast is having, and they're responding in kind.
Yeah, it could be the difference. The Magnetos could be the difference makers here. And when it came to the Meteor M's, it wasn't... Oh, they don't have a Meteor M to be able to counter this Final Judgment, so this could be Finale able to get some pickoffs, but they do have the Soul Surgeons on Rocco's side just to keep everyone alive, along with Soulman with the invisible boundary. Final seconds, the the objective is close. They're going to go for the Strangling Prison, but we do have the Fate of Both Worlds to keep everyone alive on Reject's side. Gargoyle able to get a little bit of cleanup. We're going to also get a Eye of Agamotto just for him to get so much out of this Kraken impact. And unfortunately, they don't have a Doctor Strange to try to contest this point. They're going to have to walk all the way back.
They do indeed. 30 seconds and the walk is far. It's round the corner and Reject know the fastest way is upon this high catwalk here as they're holding the ground 24 seconds and bleeding. They want to expend as much of O2 Blast as possible. A quick pop onto Welsh Corgi, but it starts off with the Supernova from O2 Blast to maybe make some chaos. It's gonna cause the Rejects to blast their way out just a little bit more. The trade comes out. Gargoyle will be worked upon. 3 seconds. I don't know if there's enough time. Overtime is indeed triggered. Ree doing their absolute best to give O2 Blast a bit more firepower here.
Okay, so Reject still trying to contest the point here, really making O2 Blast work for every inch of this objective to move. Mocha taking out Ray Yi, one of the biggest damage dealers. This could be the start of the end if Rejects can still hold on to their point here. But O2 Blast getting the Soul Surgeons. Felix also with the Rage of Ultron. Rocco taking out the Punisher on the side of Rejects, and they're still trying to hold on, and they unlock the point.
Just at the nick of time, in fact, and now it's just a fact of cleaning up shop. Gargoyle will fall Dolby as well. Couldn't get one for their troubles. It was a bit of a dicey move, I think, but honestly, I think Gnome at the last possible second had stepped off the cart and just allowed for those final inches for the side of O2 Blast to claim their first checkpoint. So away we go. We talk about this infamous high ground, and Finale knows what the storyline should be, knows the script has been written, wants to be able to deny any sort of verticality access from the side of O2 Blast.
The thing with O2 Blast is they don't have a Strange for them to get that backline teleport in, so they can at least try to hold the fort down in the high ground, which is what they're doing. Now trying to contest here at the as the objective is moving forward, but my goodness, 2 ultimates are going to be used. Piggy as well as Mocha, unfortunately unable to get any value out of the Meteor M, just forcing their way back. About to be the last minute of the contention here of the objective. We do have a Meteor M on Onse's side. He needs to use this correctly as we go for the final judgment. Is Onse going to choose to pop? They're breaking line of sight, so no need to use the Meteor M just yet.
Wow, that's very interesting that they decided to fall back. They were very worried about Meteor M. That's going to come and find a dunk onto Mocha. That back line so important, the bubble, to provide more sustain onto Onsen. Now the Eye of Agamotto will come out. I think finds 4. Oh my gosh, so much value, but enough sustain to come out as Rei envelops the site with so much value here. O2 Blast finding their mark, finding their pace, and hungry for more. Searching for stragglers for the side of Reject to hunt down.
This second point was actually not contested as much as Rejects would want it, and now this is actually a pretty dicey situation, kind of in favor of O2 Blast. They're coming into this next fight with not much objectives, but they with ultimates, but they still have a lot of time to work with and try to push past this tunneled area. So when it comes to team fights, O2 Blast in the second contention was able to actually win without even trying to set up a gank or set up a flank from behind. So now we're going to see Rei let it light up here with the Supernova taking 2 and continuing on to take a 3-piece and a soda. O2 Blast are marching their way to possibly win this.
They are indeed, and Gnome's not even going to be able to get that portal in time as the inches count down. 3-2 goes the way of O2 Blast. Boy, do we have a game ahead of us.
1 game each. It had to be a Rocco, and they really pushed past their limits here. O2 Blast coming online, courtesy of the MVP Rei. Even on the defensive side, lit up that tunnel, and also when push came to shove, it seemed like Rejects were kind of on the back foot after they lost that first point being contested. The second point, as they trailed towards the high ground, it was really I wouldn't say an uphill battle. It was actually not contested as much. They were able to win that team fight, and for them to be able to show this kind of puts to bed the questions that we were asking when it comes to heals and team synergy. O2 Blast showing us that they can move as a unit, especially in this map.
They can indeed, right? All eyes on Rei. 23 final hits out of 34 KOs, which is badonkers. That's absolutely bewildering to see that they were able.
I would say Doctor Strange on Once's side, but his Magneto was actually really good.
It really was, right? And so it shows a bit of depth here and leaves kind of a reject scrambling for, okay, do I continue banning out that Doctor Strange? Do I want to risk doing that? Or do I want to maybe hop on to the Human Torch that Rei has been so good on, or the Ultron that Felix has been disastrous on?
That's true. Those are good targeted bans that they can kind of go for. And it seems like they're going to go with the mirror match of sorts here, just denying the Mantis, denying the Loki, as well as the Emma Frost. However, this might show a little bit of their hand as rejects are on the lock-in. Will they opt to lock in maybe a Vanguard that could move? And yes, they might be opting to go for Captain America, which does so much disruption and harassment of the backlines and strategists that they try to set up here.
I mean, this goes back to their first hero picks and bans, right? On a domination, letting Gnome run free with that particular one, but a smart ban from O2 Blast, right? Knowing that Rejects has locked in the Captain America, don't want the ability to get those sneaky dive, the invisible Psylocke as well, so that's banned off the bat.
So this is kind of a deja vu of lock-ins here. It seems like O2 Blast, oh no, not going to prioritize the Doctor Strange, because initially it was the Shield Vanguards, but they are going to go with Torch. So I think they saw the writing on the wall. Okay, we can't get Rei on another hero aside from Torch, because he is him when he is on this Torch, and hopefully he'll duplicate that same type of MVP performance. However, last ban on Reject's side, they're gonna deny the Who was the last one?
The Ultron.
Ultron. Okay, my goodness. All right, cool. I was tripping there. Okay. All right, we're back.
Which makes a lot of sense, right? We've talked wonders on Felix, on the Ultron. Will have to force themselves off for something different. That's a smart move to be able to deny a full flower composition.
Yes.
Keeping those strategists locked on the ground. It is the name of the game here, but you know, I once again, I really like the Captain America lock-in. I feel like it brings rejects back to their success formula to be able to disrupt. And the counter ban from the side of O2 Blast, denying Psylocke. I mean, these are all top tier kind of 5-hit moves to try to strip away the advantage from your opponents.
Yo, chat, let us know you're still alive. Give us your favorite emojis or whatever message you want to shout out here, because we're kind of burning the midnight oil where me and Multitudes are at. But I'm sure that the teams are going to watch back in these VODs and see your messages, see the emojis of who you guys are rooting for. I see 200 and strong. I see Lily Owls. I see you. Don't worry. We got the little dancing Pepe, I believe. I forget.
Lily,
what's up?
Lily Owls is Icy Bear from Imagine, actually.
What's going on? Shout
What's
out to
up?
Lily Owls. Thank you so much for joining us. Give us some insights. Let us know. Let this be a conversation. We do see bit of a late portal play. I don't know.
Info gathering.
I guess so, but now we're gonna see them actually walk down site here at the main area. No, they're actually gonna go towards the second spawn here, and now gonna open it up and try to actually cut them off and try to set up a crossfire.
That's a very interesting crossfire, right? To be able to still hold on to the high ground while having basically additional points of attack for the side of rejects, to say the least. Forcing O2 Blast now onto the side. Gorgle and Finale, the duo in the skies, playing around this corner with the long range, no damage drop off from Gargoyle, doing absolute work on this Ultron. We'll find Rei. What an enormous pick, hunting for more. Now Rocco is in a bit of danger in that backline on the Black Widow.
Yeah, it seems like they're kind of Gnome, I thought was overextending, but Piggy is right behind him here, and you got the strategist healing everyone, so you don't want to be too far in here. Finale is just going to try and chase them down here from the skies. No one's contesting the sky right now, but we do see Rei trying to blast his way in. You do have Ultron just to have the no drop-off left clicks just for him to kind of go for the damage here. So still a point of contention here. Rejects holding strong as the point has not been unlocked yet.
Not just yet. All that is on Rocco, right? To maybe get some picks on these flyers, but look at how much value they're
my
having.
God.
And I have Agamotto high up in the sky. We'll find Finale and Rush Kogi to follow suit. What a huge start with the Meteor M, not finding any value. Fate of both worlds also forced. Plus, I believe the invisible dimensions, and a response from Piggy, not finding anything but forcing these sidelines off. Rocco will find Piggy, to say the least. So it's gonna be, it looks like the cap coming in through. Gnome's not gonna be finding any sort of value. And Rocco back on that Black Widow. Looks like this is a staple to be had.
Yeah, and look at that, a little bit of pop-off on Rocco's side. They were able to unlock that first point, which meant so much. That's usually the hardest part of this map, and now they gotta climb this hill for them to be able to push past the score line here, just to make much more difference. So great start for O2 Blast. We're gonna consider, we're gonna keep pushing forward, and look at that, Rocco taking out Mocha in the process, but Dobie with the revenge able to pick off Rocco in the process. So it's definitely a back and forth chat.
Yeah, I feel like the damage has been done though. That lurking Black Widow to get the back line, forcing rejects to be huddled around. Finale's doing their best to open things up. A lot of ultimates to be boot as well. The Unibeam doing so much value. It's gonna be Onse with a deep Eye of Agamotto, but countered by Dobie's Fate of Both Worlds. Now an Eye of Agamotto from Gnome themselves. We'll find Soulman to boot. I feel like Felix's Fate of Both Worlds was just a little too late to sustain the rest of this action.
Yup, and now Reject's gonna claim their pound of flesh here just to hold point here before they push any further to unlock the next checkpoint. Rocco on the Star-Lord here, just adding more pressure onto the dive potential of O2 Blast. Coming on in though, Reject's got a long ways way to walk down this straight alleyway for them to be able to get it, while Finale just making it rain from up top here with the Iron Man. He does have a pulse cannon ready, so they have to be very careful. We do have a teleport, I believe, for them to try and contest the point, but will it be enough? Gargoyle still adding damage to the second floor, and still unable to use his Rage of Ultron. Rejects looking real good, and we do have the maximum pulse to take anyone out, but Ray actually taking out Finale as he tries to go for that maximum pulse.
Oh, goes wide as well. This is the problem with Iron Man. If you know where they are, it's going to be known. Now that two invisible dimensions being popped, so they'll have to fight outside it, to say the least. Rei making mincemeat of the side of Rejects. All to Blast on a bit of a rampage. And Wash Kogi is wanting to continue the fight here with a beautiful Meteor on the back line. Rocco and I'll say we'll find one Rei to boot as well. There's not much more that Reject can do as O2 Blast claim the second checkpoint for themselves.
Yo, that claim of that checkpoint was godlike, and now they're coming into this next fight with so much firepower on Rei's side along with Rocco. If they're able to land a really good eye and pair it up with Rei, that's going to be disastrous. And note that they only have a Rage of Ultron to keep everyone alive. They also have an Eye of Agamotto on Reject's side, but coming into this tiny hallway, once you get the fog going as well, it could be a little tough for them to push. But Onse is still holding his mark here, and now Rage of Ultron, we're gonna see an elimination on Soulman, and we do have the Galactic Legend on Rocco's side, but they're breaking line of sight, so Rocco unable to get any good pickoffs on his side. So a costly spend on O2 Blast's ultimates.
Very costly indeed. Rocco's not finding much value. Gargoyle's pushed out with the rest of the team, and Piggy will find value as the Supernova plus the Eye of Agamotto absolutely denied from it. It does force the Fate of Both Worlds from Dobie just to be sustained, plus the Supernova maybe to disrupt this backline. Now Finale on the Wolverine will make mincemeat of Onse as we find ourselves in the fog. This brilliant cover to boot.
Yeah, Finale. Oh my god, Wolverines, low gang. But we do see a 1v1 here at Finale. Gonna try to go for the sustain, but no, the health pack can keep him alive. It is actually gonna be Rocco to take that trade of Wolverines. So us traded to a 1v1. We still continue on, but nice push off just to get the kidnap away. We're gonna go for the Eye of Agamotto to get a pick off onto Rei's side. We do have the Fate of Both Worlds to keep everyone alive. Can it sustain, though, as the invisible boundary is going to get popped? Welsh Corgi taking out Gnome. Wolverine's going to try to get into the fray here, and it's going to be a back and forth of ultimate trades left and right, Multitudes.
I feel like the card hasn't moved an inch so far. It's still a minute 30 to boot. But finally, O2 Blast find a bit of a resurgence here as now the backline is being contested by Rocco. There's only so much one single Wolverine can do, but at least the cart is a move-in. They have to move through the hardest part right now, which is this choke that Dobie as well as the likes of Mocha are holding firm, supporting their frontliners.
What's so scary is that both of them have Wolverine and now using the last stand, unable to get anything out of it just yet, so good sustains on both the strategist side here. Ultron does have that snowflake, so he can be able to get as much as he can pick off, but Gnome taking out Rocco. About to be final seconds on the clock. We're gonna see the invisible boundary pop as well as the final judgment and another fate of both worlds to keep everyone alive. Eye of Agamotto, can he get a pick off though? Everyone is still alive and so much to stand on both the strategists from Rejects and O2 Blast, but Multitudes, they're crawling their way to get to the finale here.
They're crawling their way. Reject still has a few aces up their sleeve. Honestly, with a few well-placed ultimates, it's going to be the Rage of Ultron to rain down hell and hold this choke point. I mean, it's so hard when you don't have the flanks as well as the Meteor M coming out, but not finding any sort of value. Finally, you know, the pillars do crumble. And finale will be caught out by Rocco, will be made of mincemeat and made of an example of Rocco. Agamotto finds one, is capitalized upon. Rei will drop, Gargoyle to follow suit as well.
Yo, the invisible bound to keep everyone alive, but the kidnap to try and displace Gnome. So now it's only going to be Gargoyle holding up shop here for Rejects. It's going to be overtime, and we continue on to try and push away this Bast statue. Can O2 Blast still keep this overtime going? It seems like Welsh Corgi's going to get caught out, and it is going to be a 2-point difference for now as we head towards the second half of this game. My goodness, the trade-off for ultimates, only for inches to move of the statue of Bast.
Indeed, it was very, very spectacular, and honestly the hold from Reject was very impressive to say the least. Like, they never let the cart move past that immediate tunnel of a choke point, because the moment you let that go, it's so hard to defend those last few inches. And O2 Blast were kind of held back from that, mainly in the big hall space where there was a lot more verticality, less hiding spots for them, and that played to Reject's advantage.
Yeah, shoutouts to Andre. They did not, I believe they did not C9, they just got eliminated. So Reject's having a really good contest there. We did see Welsh Corgi trying to make his way back with that Captain America, but they did get sent back to the respawn, so they couldn't actually make it back to points. So they're really holding strong here. Shoutouts to Polaris, shoutouts to Anonymous, Autumn, shoutouts to Raccoonn. I really love that dancing dinosaur. And Lily Owls, hopefully you're still with us as we head towards this second half of this game, and it is going to be Rejects to try and push past a 2-point mark that O2 Blast did set for them.
Yeah, they basically have to go almost the full distance of 3 in order for them to claim their advantage here. As now, just seeing out where things are, I'm looking at some changes on, say, on the Hulk, and Reject taking to the high grounds, wanting to deny Namor any sort of advantage with those squiddies. Once again, this map is split, this map is flipped on its head. Ooh, Onsei trying to make some space, will have to back up with their life still intact, fortunately, and now the fight from Reject is being taken over to O2 Blast.
Yeah, so it just seems like they're still trying to build up their ultimates here. No one giving anything just yet, but Onsei with a dive potential could spell disaster for the team. He's getting quite low here. Puny Banner could come in the mix here. He's going to try and dive in and give a Gamma Shield to everyone, and now we're going to see a good defense on O2 Blast's side. Solman taking out Gargoyle and also Gnome in the process, so good hold for now on O2 Blast's side. Hopefully they still hold on here, but Rejects still have a lot of time to kind of counter this the synergy of Gamma Squids.
Yeah, the Gamma Squids are being a bit of annoying beast of their own, coupled with Onsen's. Team up, Rocco fighting Dobie so early on. That's a huge one to boot, you know. Especially because Invisible Woman has those barriers to really find their mark. And so we'll have to quickly get back into action. Rejects just wanted to walk up this slow slow slope. This is a bit of a tricky situation because now there's so much pressure coming from Ree on that Namor.
Yeah, it's just really tough, especially you have to use so much of your cooldowns to keep everyone alive, and once you reach the point, you're kind of on a timer on them unless you have ultimate to work with. Invisible Boundary as well as Fate of Both Worlds is going to be used on both sides just to keep everyone alive. Gargoyle from above, he's going to try to go for Omega Hurricane as we do get a bit of Eye of Agamotto to take out Solman. And now Gargoyle continuing to add pressure here. Rejects kind of go for a take. We see Goddess of Death is going to get denied while Gargoyle going to clean up shop here for them to take this point. Let's see if Rei is going to use the Doctor Strange here for them to get back on point. There's still people on cooldown timers, so I'm not sure if they're going to go for it. Okay, Adam Warlock on the way to the point. No!
I like it. Onset on the Iron Fist, but Reject are ready for it, making mincemeat of anybody who steps through this mystical arts portal. And before you know it, the first point is claimed well within their belts, and they're progressing their way through O2 Blast. I mean, a bit of a Hail Mary attempt. You know, Onset hopping onto the Iron Fist in a desperate measure to maybe lay claim onto the point. But once again, hopping back to that 2-2-2 that hopefully they'll be able to find some momentum for themselves.
I'd say O2 Blast can't lose their cool, right? That was a bit of a desperation play. It's okay for them to, at least, for them to push a little bit, but when you start to hit the panic button is when they pass the first check, the second checkpoint. So now they're going to still, like you said, the 2-2-2 is still all good. We do see Mocha not going, just trying to keep everyone alive from the back lines. So no dive attempts on the side of O2 Blast and not going for the Squiddies anymore. And seems like they'll just be going for a standard 2-shield comp. We do have, invisible barrier is going to be opened up here for them to stop the statue from moving on. We do see that there is going to be an Eye of Agamotto that's going to be used. So far, everyone stays alive, but Gargoyle going to try to time it well once again, and Rejects going back to the well with this strategy, taking out Solman with an Eye of Agamotto and an Omega Hurricane.
The Goddess of Death not finding much value, to be honest. Just focus fire and attention from some of these duelists. And so it looks like O2 Blast, they're really putting on blast right now. Onset doing their utmost best together with both Corey to hold down the fort. But now Finale with the final judgment. I don't know if this is too much to bear. Just looking for targets. Rei will be the first to drop. And now the shields have to come online. Onset with the whole will be able to get out with the skin of their teeth. Gargoyle finding one to even things out. And now Rejects on a bit of a crusade down this mid path, wanting to really secure this second checkpoint. And away they do. Finale with some beautiful shots and a turret to boot.
Okay, this is where you start to kind of worry for O2 Blast, because now that they did lose that first point, they had a strong start with the Hulk plus the Namor. The 2-2-2 lineup, it's still kind of working, but maybe Rocco's Wolverine would change things up. There's a lot of good flank opportunities here, and the fact that Rejects is still sticking to the 2 shields could come into play here, but now seems like the Punisher on the objective here, just raining damage here, forcing out the ultimate on O2 Blast side to keep everyone alive. Eye of Agamotto, but the displacement on the capture there just to take him out of the Eye of Agamotto, and they're going to answer on their own to be able to get an elimination on Finale. Could be the start for O2 Blast, but another Gargoyle Omega Hurricane combined with a bit more damage from Rei's side. They're not on the same team, but they're trying to get as much damage as they can, and it's Rejects to end up on top here on this team fight.
Oh, geez Louise. Rejects are feeling the firepower at the moment. They're combining everything to be able to make and lay waste onto O2 Blast, who are struggling to find answers, especially because, you know, they're chugging along. And we talked about this choke point. O2 Blast have to deny any sort of entrance into this little tunnel. They open things up, making it a bit more easy, but here comes once again that final judgment. They're not waiting for anything else. The shield will deny Meteor M from any sort of distractions and desertations, and Finale still able to clean up shop with 3 of their own. It's gonna be for Welsh Corgi to have, a bit of a movement tech right at the tail end, but it's too much to bear. And Reject will be able to claim their map pick for themselves.
Yo, chat, we wanted to see Finale pop off, and you just needed a Punisher to do that. I mean, just forcing out the Meteor M, especially when that final judgment came out. MVP is going to go to Gargoyle's side, but it just seemed like a really good start for O2 Blast. But once they got that first checkpoint unlocked, they kind of went back. I think once they tried to go for that teleport, they tried to go for a bit of Iron Fist play. It was all right, but they couldn't get back the momentum that the Rejects did claim. So, yeah, we are
here in the heroes, picks, and bans. These are important that really shape the way this whole battlefield is laid out at the moment. Nothing too surprising thus far, I would imagine. Nothing until, like, I want to say step number 5, step number 6, that things start to diversify a little as we go for the standard kind of Emma Frost ban, the lock-in for the Magneto, and then probably the Loki ban for the set of Rejects, just to mirror match everything up so far.
Yeah, pretty standard, but once we get towards the third bans, this is where you kind of see them start to cook, or them respect banning. Potentially the Mantis on the side of O2 Blast, respect banning that, and also taking out Rejects. I guess Finale's what's that, Punisher here, because Punisher got so much out of that final judgment.
Yeah, indeed. Like, so many team fights, just shredding shields, shredding health, to say the least. So, great adjustment from that perspective. Now, O2 Blast want to be able to make sure Onsen holds on to the Strange. We'll lock that in. Reject, a lot of targeted bans and picks at the moment. Reject hovering over that Human Torch. Oh, Wolverine, maybe. Okay, Wolverine, to say the least. That will deprive Rocco, right? Very targeted.
It is very targeted. So, it's going to save up the Mantis just for them to hold. Man. Oh, Rejects kind of have the Guardians thing kind of cooking, but they choose not to ban out Adam Warlock. So could this bite O2 Blast here? Because Guardians comp, they could take to the sky. And it seems like, yeah, well, Ray is actually hovering over the Warlock, but they don't have a Mantis. Oh, wait, they do have a Mantis. My bad.
No, they don't. They don't. Yeah, it moves across. So whatever you're seeing on the left side is what O2 Blast cannot pick now.
Right. Thank you for that. So, I mean, you can go Warlock and Star-Lord, but man, Mantis with the Soul Resurgence kind of helps things go if you go for a 3-strategist lineup. So we are gonna head towards the map, folks, and it seems like it is gonna be O2 Blast on the defender side as we kind of take a tour of Spider Islands. I hope you guys enjoy your stay here. If you look above, there are gonna be a lot of flyers.
There are going to be flyers, the shattered sky to paint the night scene across these Spider Islands. Lots of verticality, lots of breakable weaponry, and a lot of rooftops you can sneak your way on top and get the drop on your enemies. And I would not be surprised if that is abused. I'm still thinking about the res meta that's possibly going to be abused by the side of Reject. We saw it come to fruition and absolutely dominated by the side of Crazy Raccoons for 2 maps. But we're going to start things off with hopefully a stronghold. This triple Vanguard coming out from O2 Blast plus Rocco on the thing to maybe hold their ground as much as possible. They're letting some of the flyers take to the backside and absolutely stripping away this strategist layer.
Multi, look at these groundies, bro. They're all on the ground. What's going on?
Okay. Look at all these groundies.
Look at these groundies, bro. But I like this. Okay, we're taking it to the ground, especially for Rocco and Welsh Corgi's side. Man, if they have a flyer, that's going to be insane. I think this is their answer, or the response to the Guardians comp. But we do see a snap just to keep everyone alive. Magneto's going to try and go for the higher ground, but unfortunately going to get picked off in the process. Ray with that snap to keep everyone alive. He's going to have to be able to survive this onslaught and barrage. He's going to get hunted down. We do see that Welsh Corgi, he's going to try and stop the pressure from coming on in here. Getting a bit of information. Let's see how far the contest is going to be. And they're going to jump right in.
Oh my gosh, right onto the side, starting off the thing to lead the charge as the immovable object. A lot of ultimates online. It's going to start with the Galactic Legends trying to find through the portal. Wow. Goes one of them, but Somin will be unfortunately one of the targets. It is also the invisible boundary popped by the side of O2 Blast to sustain everyone, but Gnome trying to find some pressure as the Captain America moves on to Ray. Do they resurrect? Do they come back with the cocoon? Not sure just yet. I think they'll let that phase out as Felix will find their demise, and finally, O2
hang
Reject
on.
are really finding some level of move. Ah, so unlucky. Reed's gonna come back and meet their demise instantly from that perspective.
Yeah, I think Ray just trying to hold as much as he could on the point just to stop it from moving, but you kind of give way for them to gain a little bit more ults, and it's I see 4 check marks on Rejects that they can cash in on this next team fight. Rocco actually sticking with the Jeff here, so some Jeff emojis in the chat. Let's see how O2 Blast can kind of cook from this, but we are going to see some heals come out.
Yeah, huge from the side of O2 Blast, able to fight themselves back. He comes out with the Meteor M, can't find anything. Karmic Revival wanted to just focus on Gnome to bring back Captain America into the action and disrupt the back lines. Goes Reject, as well as their kind of Guardians of the Galaxy team up. Now Soulman doing their best to sustain the rest of their squad.
Yep, gotta watch out for that Sharknado. Thank you, Slushy Kitten, for bringing that to boot. But now we do see that the Galactic Legend able to take out Cloak and Dagger. And now the Sharknado in the mix here, able to take out Gargoyle. But Gargoyle could just cocoon his way back, but he's actually gonna get taken out. No, it seems like he's still alive, but Gnome actually taking out Doctor Strange. So Rejects really pushing with all that they can, and unfortunately Piggy taking out Rocco on the Jeff. The Sharknado only able to take out 1, and speaking of 1, Rejects unlock their first checkpoint.
Ooh, a lot of interesting changes and plays coming from, out from the side of O2 Blast, even opting for a Sharknado to boot. Didn't quite work out, so we have a bit of a refresh from their composition. Ray back on the Human Torch, couldn't find too much value with the Adam Warlock. Unfortunately, given that the Mantis was banned, not much value there at TBH.
So let's see some flyers. They definitely are going to take to the skies here, which we thought of initially, and now forcing out the invisible boundary on O2 Blast side, just so that they can set up position here. But Freedom Charge is going to be popped by Gnome. Dobie not going to choose to revive just yet, waiting for the right opportunity, forcing out the Fate of both, the Eternal Bond here, and the Soul Surgeon on Dobie's side. This is what the Guardians brings to the table. Constant pressure, and Elim's coming on Soulman to take out Finale, who is on that Star-Lord that chooses just to revive, since the respawn point is actually not that far from the objective.
Yeah, you don't want to pop your cocoon too early. You want to be strategic about when that happens. It's all, once again, all these micro plays that come out so strong. Reject now on the offense. They have a lot of ultimates to boot. I'm looking at Piggy with their Meteor M to maybe start things up, but no, Finale with the Galactic Legend will find Rocco. A huge pick to boot. Now looking for more. Magneto hunting for another. Won't get denied any sort of value, but Finale being an absolute nuisance. A mosquito up in the air as Gnome will take to the floor. Those groundlies making so much work. Huge bubble onto Felix to deny, but Gnome will still find their mark, and another to boot. Reject finding so much value here.
Rocco forced to go to the Spider-Man to try and get any pickoffs, but unfortunately Finale has other plans, and it just started with that Omega Hurricane getting denied with the Galactic Legend, so that's quite unfortunate. Rejects marching their way down this village side just to get towards that structure. So now we do see Felix does have the invisible boundary to hold point, but it just seems like Rejects coming to this next team fight are so confident, getting a pickoff onto Soulman as well. Finale getting so much out of this exchange here, these scramble situations, and now it is going to be a huge stagger on the side of O2 Blast.
Indeed. Only 60-second lens goes the timer. Dobie will find onset. Watch Kogi dropped as well. Vanguards out of action, forced to respawn. O2 Blast have but one more chance to touch. Might be on the hands of Onse if they can get some sort of teleport on. But look at the push coming out. Okay, Rejects are gonna maybe start things off with the Freedom Charge. But Onse with the teleport just to be able to contest at 3 meters plus. It's a back and forth of ultimates at the moment. Spin to win up top. But it's gonna be Supernova to encourage or discourage Dobie off this sideline, and away from it goes. Finale trying to add some vertical pressure, but not finding too much value. Scratch that. Soulman as well as Ray will be denied any sort of action.
And now O2 Blast trying to go triple strategist for them to add more pressure, or actually more sustain. But look at that Finale, not leaving anything, no stone unturned here for them to be able to march past this second checkpoint. They want to put all the spider all the way to the top floor here, but what can O2 Blast do? They've already switched up the Sharknado. Again, there's a sequel that's going to happen, but not going to bring it out today. Rocco going with the Luna Snow. Can they actually hold here as they have 2 shield tanks? We're going to see Gargoyle actually with a Karmic Revival placement. So Felix going to be able to actually get some elims, and now the Karmic Revival. They don't know where it's at, Multi.
They don't, and it actually baits out the rage of the Ultron as well. So that's huge value coming out from Reject to get all their players back into as quickly as possible. Felix trying to make it worth their while, but there's not much defensive structures to hide around. So Resurgence from Dolby, plus the Eye of Agamotto will find one. That's going to be Finale immediately dealt with by the side of Felix, and now Freedom Charge to fire themselves back. It's a very chaotic. So many particles, so many ultimates to boot. Who will come up on top? Dobby will find Rocco in the midst of it all. Fate of both worlds pops and forcing themselves back behind those Magneto shields. Welsh Corgi will have to reassemble themselves because there's so much chaos being made by the Captain America in the back line.
And now we do see what's that, a Galactic Legend. Gargoyle actually gets taken out in the process, but he can revive. Finale forced to go inside and gets Rocco out. This is going to be the Rage of Ultron just to try to keep everyone alive, but they get 2 pickoffs on the side of Rejects and now forcing overtime. They're trying to climb here, but everyone is still, well, the Doctor Strange is keeping alive here while Rocco trying to hold point here and continue on. They're getting so low, and the Doctor Strange so close to actually falling. We still stay alive here. Supernova is going to be popped by Rei. Rocco is going to try to add more damage. This forces Dobby to go for the Soul Resurgence, and we have another Eye of Agamotto. It's ultimates left and right. I'm losing my mind here, Multitudes, with how much pressure is put on Rejects and O2 Blast.
Indeed, and Rejects are still finding so much value here. There was a couple of cocoons in the midst of it all, so that allowed Dobby and Finale to get themselves back in the action and continue the overtime. As you know, these counters are ticking. So many players on this side. Felix as well as Rei doing their best to dance around. Rei onset now on the Hulk. Okay, it's gonna be the Galactic Legends. The bubble comes out just to be able to sustain this fight just a little bit more. Piggy and Finale will find a couple of your own. Rejects are looking like an unstoppable force right now. Is Puny Banner to be dealt with, that back line, that front line, everything, and the kitchen sink. 3 points to boot goes the way of Reject.
The team fight lasted way longer than expected, but you gotta give it up for O2B for them to throw everything in the kitchen sink, the entire household at Rejects. But it's the Guardians, man. They're able to get so much out of the cocoons, and Gargoyle with the well-placed Karmic Revival under the structure so that they'll be revived, snapped to full health, and out of line of sight. That was an immaculate play, and Gargoyle was slowly getting another Karmic Revival. So O2 Blast kind of put in a corner here because now they have to push while Rejects have to defend, and they need to go the full 3 points for them to keep this game going.
They do indeed. You know, to be fair, O2 Blast did try to cook a little bit. They had some very interesting lineups. They had triple Vanguards right off the bat to maybe hold things off, but couldn't really muster up. They then switched to like the Sharknado composition that was very interesting. Didn't quite find too much value because of the way Reject plays. They were a bit all over the place and couldn't really sustain a group effort from that perspective. So kudos for O2 Blast for trying to cook. Unfortunately, didn't eat too well. And so back to, I would say, they're like tried and true bread and butter comfort picks.
Let's get some flyers, bro. Let's get some altitudes, and that is what Felix just right off the gate, making sure that his presence will be felt here all the way on the high grounds, because they know they gotta come out guns a-blazing, and they start swinging for the fences as Felix tries to pepper the back lines of Rejects as they try to push the objective here. So Felix, man on a mission here. He needs to be the eyes in the sky here and try to I would say out-damage the Guardians lineup, because right now Rejects, their lineup, they don't have anyone to fly except Finale, but his jetpack isn't necessarily keeping him in the sky, and that takes out Finale. He can cocoon back, but will he do it is the question. He is going to try and go 1v1, but he is still staying and trying to hold the point.
Indeed, still back and forth, trying to figure out where those ultimates might come out. And I think it's the Eternal Bond from the side of O2 Block to start things off. Meteor M is hunting for it, won't find Rei instead, which is still a huge pick for the side of Rejects. As now we make our way onto the point here. The Wall's trying to isolate these fights, Gnome being an absolute nuisance in the backline, but now sustained by the rest of Piggy to boot. Great sleep onto Walsh Corgi to say the least, and once again, this isolation onto Piggy might be the death of them, but not just yet.
Yeah, and now good invisible barrier to kind of counter the line of sight of Finale, so not gonna get any pickoffs onto the Galactic Legend, but Welsh Corgi, one well-placed, it's that Strangling Prison could do it, but we do see that Gnome just taking out the backline. He's gonna go for the Strangling Prison, but Ray only able to take out Dobby. Gnome and Gargoyle getting pickoffs of their own, so they're holding strong here. Look at that! Cap trying to fly himself, jump in, just for him to be able to get Ultron. This is Age of Ultron? No, this is Captain America. We're talking about, yeah, what was the second movie of Captain America?
I don't remember, but I feel like all these Vanguards, the Winter Soldier. I feel all these Vanguards are auditioning for the second, like, true flyer here. No one wants to be a groundie at the moment, as now the O2 Blast take back this as Freedom Charge starts things off. Gnome taking the charge here, trying to disrupt as much as possible from the back. Phoenix now, Rage of Ultron, follow up, but a huge slam from Rei. Freeze won't negate any further action coming from them, but now the Magneto has to be feared. Doesn't quite find a pick though, despite it being thrown onto the cart. So much sustain from the Eternal Bond, to say the least.
And now we see the Supernova coming on in. Dobby with the Solar Surgeons. Can this sustain? It's not going to be allowed. Gargoyle does have the Karmic Revival, but has not chosen a spot where to put it just yet. We're going to get a pick off on the side of Rei on Finale, but Finale can just cocoon his way back in this matchup. Rocco is going to try to keep everyone alive, while Gargoyle already putting up the Karmic Revival. They don't know where it's at, and Rocco trying to stay alive on point. Finale, though, gonna pop the Galactic Legend. They're not gonna have a defensive ult to contest here. Gonna get the pick off on the side of Felix and gonna get even more on the board. Rejects are still gonna try to fight. No Karmic Revival is gonna be used. Dobby's gonna have to go back to spawn, while Finale's gonna put the finishing touches onto the flyer here.
Jeez, they look so good. 40 seconds and counting. It is O2 Blast to keep themselves here in the game. They have to push it to overtime, and that's a far ways away. They just want that first checkpoint to keep their hopes alive.
Okay, we're gonna see a disruption on the back line here. Strangling Prison to see if anyone's gonna get anything. Felix is gonna try and get as much damage as possible, but it's gonna be Gnome to take out the Cloak and Dagger. We're gonna continue on to overtime, most likely. 15 seconds left on the clock. This is not gonna be good on the side of O2 Blast. They're being sent back to spawn.
I don't think there's anyone left on the side of O2 Blast to even touch. No made sure of that, and wanting to make even more sure by taking to these lines and shutting some of it out. Eternal Bond will be used. Actually, overtime has been clocked, but it's draining slowly, as well as Gnome trying to make some plays here in the back line. Catches up to Soulman, trying to make Mince work. So much happening. I have Algono from onset. This might be their clutch, but saved by the bell goes the way of Mocha with the fate of both worlds.
Excellent back and forth. Gnome just being absolute harassment on the back lines here, and Gargoyle still holding point. They're actually changing it up. Rei clicking heads with the Hawkeye, making a debut here, and now forcing Dobby to go for the Solar Surgeons, and Finale going for the Galactic Legend to take out Hawkeye himself. Welsh Corgi swinging right hands left and right, but now the pickoffs left and right on Reject's side for them to claim victory in a 3-0 game here at Spider Island. Oh my god.
So dominant from their perspective. Reject rocking the revive meta. We've seen how strong it is. This honestly proves why, you know, if you don't ban an Adam Warlock, you should ban a Mantis, because the value that came out from Storlord and Mantis, Dobby, as well as who was the finale,
Yeah.
rocking those flyers, plus a karmic revival to boot.
Yeah.
There was just so many bodies that Reject RC were able to bring to the fight and sustain despite the damage that O2B were able to bring.
Yeah, the Karmic Revivals just had so much, I would say, well, it was well placed, first and foremost, and it just added so much pressure that they couldn't keep up with the overwhelming revivals, the respawns, and just the Guardians team up. And that's why you gotta ban the Adam Warlock or just deny any type of revival meta from coming on in. And this is case in point. Rejects, ladies and gentlemen, moving forward to the dominant